friends and spiritual travelers, it's Mystic Owl here. We have a pick a card reading again today. Today's theme is Mars retrograde in the sun sign of Aries 2020. So Mars turned retrograde on the 9th or the 10th of September, depending on where you are in the world. So today, here in Australia, and it lasts through till mid-November, till November 13th. Mars is at home in Aries. It is the ruler of Aries. Unfortunately, when it's retrograde, it's the energy of Aries is kind of like flipped on its head. Aries is the sign of like being the warrior, of being first and always wanting to be the best. And Mars rules our motivation, our aggression, our sense of our willpower and our desire to go after the things that we really want. But when Mars goes retrograde, retrogrades tend to be a period where the energy is like turned inward. Noting Mars is a personal planet. It's one of the 3 personal planets. So this impacts us all individually. As it's turning inwards, I think it's more about like really trying to resolve any sort of inner conflicts that we may have, overcoming our own demons to some degree, getting that strength to work on ourselves and to correct those things that we know need some attention. It's also a period where we may feel a little bit like lazy and unmotivated as we're turning the energy inwards and not so much reflecting it outwards or extending that energy outwards. This is a period where we may just feel a little bit down or just lacking in energy, lacking in motivation. Mars also is the ruler of like your sex drive, of your libido. So this may also be a period where you may not feel overly motivated in the bedroom. Just keep that in mind. So yeah, retrogrades tend to have like a negative sort of view or perception, but I think all energy can be used in a positive way if we know how to use it. So I really think this is a period where we can actually start to like take action on some of these things that we know maybe we need to work on or overcome, to be motivated to do some inner work. Or we may have some like external struggles. Also, things may not necessarily go the way we want, but I think it's all about patience and perseverance. It's kind of a time where we're being a little bit tested to see how much we want something, also to see how motivated we are, even though we may not be feeling the most energetic or enthusiastic. So we have 4 piles for you today. We have pile 1 with the 5-cent tarot. I usually use a pointer or a chopstick, but I can't find it today, so I wonder if that's associated with Mars retrograde. Anyway, so pile 1 with the 5-cent tarot. We have pile 2 with the tattoo tarot. Pile 3 is the standard Ryder Waite tarot deck. And pile 4 is the commonplace tarot. Please use your intuition to choose a pile. I'm actually just going to do a free shuffle today, so I'm going to be shuffling on camera and see what cards come out for us. And then we'll get some further insight from the Moonology cards, and we'll finish off with it. The universe has your back deck card for a closeout message. Just remember, this is a general reading, so take only that which resonates with you and leave the rest behind. I hope you all have a lovely and not so chaotic Mars retrograde period. And let's get started with pile number 1. Welcome, pile number 1 with the 5-cent tarot deck. Let's find out how Mars retrograde in Aries, September 2020, will affect you. Just going to start shuffling and see what cards come out. Remembering that retrograde periods turn the energy inwards, and Mars being the planet of aggression and willpower. I guess it's about finding motivation when it's really sort of lacking in a way. Relying on your inner resolve to overcome challenges. Can we get some cards, please, for pile number 1? How will Mars retrograde affect pile number 1, please, Spirit? Ooh. Okay, we'll start with those. So the card that came out, first of all, is the Queen of Cups, compassion. It also says calm and comfort. You have the Eight of Needles in reverse. Self-acceptance. Healing. Ah, nice. Freedom. Okay. You have the Five of Matches. Conflict. Rivalry and competition. You also have the Queen of Buttons in reverse. Independence. Jealousy. Smothering. And you have the Eight of Buttons in reverse. Perfections. Uninspired. There you go. And mediocrity, it says there. So what I do see for you, I'll put them all in a row. Interesting. Of note, you've got two queens and two eights there. So eights being a very lucky number. They're all about fortitude. But they're both in reverse, is of note too. Reverse sort of tends to remind me of the energy going inward also. It can also be a complete sort of flip of the energy. But I like to think it also is about the energy being turned inwards and how we are feeling internally. There's a really strong theme here of like learning to accept yourself. You've got the Eight of Needles there, and it says self-acceptance. You have the Queen of Cups with compassion, right? And empathy, of love and emotional balance. The Queen of Buttons in reverse, so it says independence. So what I am seeing is this is about you like learning to accept yourself. I sense this is a group that may have some motivational issues, or what I do see here with the Eight of Buttons with perfection and uninspired, I see a group that may be a perfectionist. It's always like trying to be the best at everything that they do. You may be somebody that like tends to compare yourself to others, and unfortunately when we do that, we're always sort of, you know, gonna find imperfections. Like we can never be the best at everything we can do. You know, everybody has their own talents and their own skills. And most definitely I see with the Eight of Buttons here that this is a very sort of crafty and creative group. The Queen of Cups also talks about like being creative also. So I sense that you do have some creative talents, but I sense that maybe you're a little bit afraid to put them out there, pile one. I sense that potentially you're afraid of like other people's opinions, that maybe they won't be the best, or there's a fear of rejection is what I'm picking up on. I also see a group that I sense tends to be quite negative on themselves or quite down on themselves when we try to be, we put ourselves on a pedestal, right? And it's really hard to constantly try and achieve that level. It's something that I've learned with tarot too. Like putting myself out there and having to do these videos, I tend to stumble over my words a lot. And I for the first few months, I was just afraid that, you know, no one would like what I had to offer, or that I wasn't as good as some of the other readers. But it really doesn't matter. Like, I do my readings in my own way, and I'm starting to like accept the way that I do it, and starting to actually thoroughly enjoy doing readings in my own manner, basically. So I think the lesson for you during Mars retrograde part one is to learn to accept yourself for who you are, and to accept that you do have imperfections. To accept that those imperfections are beautiful also. They're just a part of who you are, that you need to like learn to love all of you and not just parts of you. I see with the Five of Matches a group that tends to be in internal conflict is what I'm picking up on. Where one day you're feeling really good and inspired and motivated, and then other days you're feeling really low and being quite negative and down on yourself, telling yourself that maybe you won't be successful or you can't achieve something. But I do see a group that really has the ability to maybe make something happen if they like focus on a creative talent or task or something like that. This is a very crafty and creative group, as I mentioned earlier. And with the Queen of Buttons there, remembering that she is like, she has everything that she wants in her life. She's managed to manifest everything that she's wanted in the material world, and she's very like compassionate also. She tends to be very generous and kind, and gives off a lot of her abundance to other people because she has the money and the wealth to be able to do that. But it does mention independence here. So what I am seeing is a group that I think if they just lower their expectations of how perfect they need to be, has the ability to maybe do something creative that could turn into a career, or that they could showcase to other people. This is something that you could do as like a hobby and start to make money part-time potentially. But I do see there's a little bit of healing that needs to be done during Mars retrograde. So I sense for you it's about looking internally and starting to allow yourself to accept those things about you that maybe you're not so fond of, you know. Remembering that we're all human. Humans aren't perfect. Humans are the perfect balance of light and dark. We're supposed to have our vices, like they balance us out. Let's see if there's any other cards that want to come out for you. Pile 1 from the 5-cent tarot deck. This one is. Spirit, is there any further messages for pile 1, please? I see a group that's very creative. What are the things that they're healing on? What things are they currently working on? What needs to heal for pile 1, please, Spirit? I also, yeah, just to remember, you've got 2 8s there. So that's... 8 is the number of luck, right? Of expansion. Well, it's not really expansion. 8's the number of luck and things falling into place for you. So I do sense it when you start to accept yourself for who you are right now. You're going to start to see things like being reflected in your external world by things starting to fall into place, things getting a little bit easier. Maybe your creative talents will start to get the reward and the recognition that they actually deserve. Oh, you have the Ace of Cups too in reverse. Intuition, self-love. There you go. Can you see that? That's amazing. Self-love, yes. And it says there repression. And you also have the 7 of Cups in reverse too. There's lots of cards in reverse in this one. Once again, just reiterating that reverse cards can also mean like the energy turning inwards. So I do sense that this is a period where you're going to do a lot of like inner growth. I'm actually seeing a lot of growth for you during Mars retrograde pile 1, where you start to like love yourself with the Ace of Cups there and self-love. Lots of Cups energy too. So you've got the Queen of Cups, you've got the Ace of Cups, and you've got the 7 of Cups. I do sense that this would be an emotional time for you. And that's not surprising, because when we're doing a lot of inner healing, there's a lot of emotions that come to surface that need to be processed and released from our energetic field, from our aura. So I sense that this will be a period where you start to feel like emotions or things that you haven't felt for a while. Potentially there's some things that you've pushed away to the deep subconscious that just need to be healed and released. There may be some trauma in your past, or even from a past life, potentially, pile 1, that is resurfacing during Mars retrograde, because it's a time where you can actually take action on overcoming these challenges. But most definitely I see a very creative group. Noting also that with the Ace of Cups here, it does say creativity, but it's in reverse. So I do see that this is a group that has a talent. You may be very artistic, or like you want to be a writer or something like that. There's something about your personality or a skill that you have that I think you need to start believing in and start putting more energy towards, part 1, most definitely. Because I sense that this is a skill that you can actually use to start making money with the Queen of Buttons there. With the 7 of Cups there, it does say illusions. I just get the feeling that maybe there's more than one talent. That you have many skills. You're multi-talented, pile 1. So I think you just need to really believe in yourself more, is what I'm getting. Start to allow yourself to do the inner healing and do the inner work. I sense, of course, that you've been doing it for a while. We all have. Like, that's just what life is all about. Life is a series of lessons that we learn to master over time. We're constantly faced with the same lesson until we actually accept it and start to integrate the lesson into our day-to-day activities. So really for you, it's just about like not being too hard on yourself, trying to shut down those thoughts of like not being good enough when they arise, starting to accept the things about yourself that maybe you feel aren't perfect or that you're not so fond of. Like for me, I know that I speak a lot differently to most people, the way I inflect my voice. I used to mumble and stumble and stutter when I was a child, so I have a lot of like self-esteem issues associated with the way that I speak. But the more I do it, the more confident I'm getting. Like, I'm actually starting to really enjoy doing tarot readings now. So yeah, just know that they're just parts of you that you need to love and accept, really. Moving on, let's get some further messages from the Moonology card for you. I've just seen 1111 on the clock too, which is a very lucky number. It's the angel number. So I do sense that your angels and your spirit guides are here supporting you through this rapid healing phase, pile one, where you're learning to accept all aspects of yourself and be more compassionate and loving towards yourself. Spirit, can we get some further messages, please, for pile number one? What else is going on for them during Mars retrograde in Aries? Noting also that Aries is the warrior, right? Aries is the first sun sign of the zodiac, wants to be the best. But when Mars turns retrograde in Aries, the warrior can be a little bit like wimpy, kind of like chickens out a little bit. And I think that can be good sometimes. It's about softening that energy, maybe taking off the urge or the need to be the best all the time, to always be on the go, to just take some time to chill out and rest a little bit. Any further messages, please, Spirit, for pile one during Mars retrograde? Okay, you got one card. That's all that wanted to come out. We did get 7 cards there from the tarot. So your card, pile one, you have the Gibbous Moon. You're very close to achieving your goal. Lovely. Okay. So there's an indication that if you've been going through a really rough time recently, and I know that we all have during the pandemic, COVID-19, you maybe have been feeling quite low or depressed potentially. And I sense that you've been doing a lot of inner work without even possibly even meaning to, is what I'm picking up on, pile one, where, you know, things from your past may have come up to start to heal. You're starting to, like, I guess you've probably been forced to spend a little bit more time on your own, I sense. And because of that, you've had to address some of these issues that potentially you could have ignored by just working a lot or being around other people. Like alone time, we all need alone time to be able to reflect on our lives and to start to work out what it is that we want from life and who we are and what skills and talents we have to offer. So I do say that this period has been good for you in the sense that you're starting to accept yourself very slowly. I sense that you're starting to realize that those things that you didn't like so much about you are just part of who you are, and they're sometimes there's even hidden gifts in those things. Like when we actually start to work on those things that we know we need to like let go of or overcome, they end up being something that is like another talent or another gift that we never thought we had. But if you have been feeling a little bit stuck or unmotivated, I sense by the end of Mars retrograde in early November, I think Mars turns direct on November 13th, 2020. I sense by the end of Mars retrograde, you're going to start to feel more motivated, more alive, more at peace with who you are, more compassionate and loving towards yourself, more inspired to do those creative things that bring you joy, the things that maybe you think you're not so good at, but really you are. You're very talented, Power One. Like the energy is gaining momentum here in terms of like you actually overcoming your demons, but also getting more inspiration to do the things that you've always wanted, to start living life more freely and not being so hard on yourself, which is really beautiful. Finally, let's get a closeout message for you, Pile One, from the Universe Has Your Back deck. Spirit, can we get a closeout message for Pile One, please? Oh, that was quick. Through prayer and meditation, I create a ripple effect of peace in the world. Lovely. So what I get from that, as I mentioned earlier, I think you've been forced to spend a lot of time on your own, Pile One, to do a lot of like personal reflection and contemplation, to work out what your priorities are, what you want from life, to start to see that those darker parts of our personality are kind of just part of who we are. I mean, we need to love and accept those things too. So through prayer and meditation, I just sense that more alone time will help you to gain more clarity about where you're going in life and what it is that you want. And I do see I create a ripple effect of peace around the world, that that you have the ability to really inspire others to start to work on themselves too. This is a group that, like, the more changes that you make in yourself, I sense the more changes you see in your own external reality, and it also sort of rubs off on other people. Like, you start to vibrate at a higher frequency, and that resonates out to other people. You're more happy and vibrant, right? You feel more at peace with who you are, and other people start to feel the same. They get more inspired to do the inner work too, and they start to really enjoy being in your company. Yeah, so continue to do the work, knowing full well that this period will be a little bit tough. I think there's a lot of healing to do, but you are on your journey already, Power One, I see. So good on you. And when Mars turns direct, I just sense you're going to be like raring and ready to go to start putting yourself out there and actually taking action on your creative abilities and showing people what you can do and achieve. That's all I have for you, Power One. I hope that resonated with you. If it did, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I wish you a beautiful day, and let's move on to Pile 2. Welcome, Pile number 2 with the Tattoo Tarot deck. I'm going to do a free shuffle. Let's find out what cards come out to get an idea of how Mars retrograde in Aries in September 2020 will affect you. Remembering that retrograde periods are generally a period where we turn inwards, the energy is turned inwards. So generally I think it's about like finding the inner resolve or the strength and motivation within to start overcoming our own challenges or to even push through this period. It can be a bit of a test in terms of, still persevering despite not really wanting to or not having the motivation. Ooh. Oh, there we go. Spirit, can we get some further messages? That's way too many cards. Can we get some further messages, please, for Pile 2? Mars retrograde in Aries, please. How will Mars retrograde in Aries affect Pile number 2? The cards don't really want to come out for you, Pile 2. They were flying out for Pile 1. And I'm sensing that's because you might be a little bit stubborn. This is a group that I sense doesn't like change. Retrograde periods might hit you quite hard because you are stuck in your ways, is what I'm sensing. Spirit, any further messages, please, for Pile 2? Oh, there's one. Any further messages for Pile 2? Okay. Yeah, we got a few cards after all. So the first card that came out, oh, there's actually 2 there. I didn't see that. So you have the 2 of Wands, and you have the 6 of Wands in reverse. You have the Strength card in reverse. You have Judgment in reverse. You have the 4 of Coins in reverse. You ended up getting 7 cards. You have the King of Cups. And you also have the 9 of Swords, right? Okay. So I was picking up in a group that was probably very stubborn. This is a group that I sense is very stuck in your own ways. You don't like change. You think you know what you want, and you probably do, and that's good. But I sense that you don't. I sense that you've been going through a period of like transformation, and you've been resisting the change with the Judgment card in reverse there. Also the 6 of Wands really indicating to me, both of those being in reverse, which is an internal energy also. I just sense that you've been resisting the changes that have been happening in your life. 2020 is a year where I think it's kind of the precipice for me of the age of Aquarius, where humanity is moving towards a phase where we are more in support of each other and loving each other and accepting each and everybody for who they are and what talents they have to offer. Like each cog in the wheel working together to make the whole work well, as opposed to feeling separated from each other and relying on ourselves. But I sense that you've been resisting the changes that have been sort of happening in your life. And I do sense that it's causing you a little bit of grief here, pile 2 with the 9 of Swords. So I really think during Mars retrograde, this is a period where you're going to, in a way, be forced to have to start to let go of certain things, with the 4 of Coins really talking about like having an attachment to things in reality, like material attachments. It may not necessarily just be material attachments. It can also be our belief systems too. There's things that you're attached to or that you don't want to let go. It may be like earthly attachments, maybe drugs and alcohol potentially, or watching too much TV, like sex addiction, things like that. Or it may even be like materialistic attachments in terms of like your car, or, you know, wanting to be the best at your job, always wanting to like compare yourself to other people. Like the grass is always greener in a sense. I think that this is a period where you're really going to be forced to question your values, what's important to you. And with the King of Cups here in the upright position, I really sense this is about you starting to like accept yourself for who you are and what you have, despite what the external world can offer you. Like happiness comes from within, right? I think that's something that we're all starting to learn. We can have as much money as we can in the world and have all of the material assets that we can possibly want. But if we're not happy within, then those things just can't, they're just unfulfilling, really. I see a group that is really starting to learn that there's certain things in their life with the 4 of Coins in reverse that they need to let go of. It may be certain coping mechanisms, but I also think it's probably certain belief systems, like that you need to go down a certain path in life, with the 2 of Wands here indicating like planning a direction or wanting to start a journey. I really see that you have felt that like your life had to go down a certain path or have a certain narrative in a way that isn't necessarily true. So your whole belief system is starting to fall apart, so that you can actually sort of start from a more solid foundation about what is real to you, what is important, how life actually works, and how we can attain happiness by just starting to be at peace with ourselves and going in flow with the universe a little bit more, is what I'm seeing. Because I do see also with the 6 of Wands and the 9 of Swords here that you've been really like, I see this being a group that is trying to control the outcome, or really trying to force their way through, which is very Mars energy in general, being very aggressive and aggressively going after the things that you want in life. And you may have had a little bit of success, I see, with the 4 of Coins, and you've started to really like become quite almost dependent on wanting to achieve certain things. But I just sense that you're feeling a little bit unsatisfied or unfulfilled. And I really see that during Mars retrograde 2020, you're going to start to like become more peaceful within, starting to accept yourself and be happy within, not needing to have achieved certain things by a certain time, not having to be the best at your career, not having to like validate yourself to other people or try to answer other people's like expectations in a way. It's your life, and I sense you're starting to realize that you can do whatever you want, and we're only here really just to enjoy the experience of living, despite, you know, what we achieve or what we do. The Judgment card in reverse also talks about a higher calling of having overcome certain challenges in life, so that we can actually start to assist other people going through those similar challenges, starting to draw upon the experiences of the darker times, so that we can actually like impart knowledge and wisdom to other people. So I do see that this is an experience that I think that not only you'll get through during Mars retrograde, noting that Mars goes direct on November 13th at the end of the year. By then, I think you'll start to realize that your life can be whatever you want it to be, pile 2, that you're not bound by certain expectations, that you don't have to have all of the assets in your external world to make you happy, that you don't have to answer to anyone else, that you can live the life that you want. And I really think that's when you'll start to feel a lot more free within and more satisfied with who you are and what you want from life. Nice. Let's get some further messages for you from the Moonology cards. I do see, though, with the Strength card there also in reverse, that, yeah, this is a group that I see is very strong, very resilient. I sense that potentially you've had some struggles recently where things just haven't worked out the way you want. It's caused you a bit of heartache, a bit of grief, but you've always continued to, like, persevere and power through. But I think maybe during Mars 2000, I think during this retrograde period, you're kind of being forced to pause a little bit, and to start to maybe question your belief systems, and also start to work on letting go of those things that really aren't serving you, or at least accepting that, you know, money and assets don't make us happy, that love comes from within, that connections are more important. And I do see a group that has a lot of love to give too, because you've been through hard times, I'm seeing here, pile 2. So as I said earlier, you'll be able to use those experiences to try and help other people, to show them the light, to direct them through their own sort of personal demons and on their own spiritual journey. Spirit, can we get some further messages, please, for pile 2? Can we get some further messages, please, for pile 2 from the Moonology cards, please? The King of Cups there in the upright position really just indicates that, like, you will come into a place of emotional satisfaction, of working out what your values are and what you want from life, feeling a lot more at peace with yourself. This is a group that will be doing a lot of, like, shadow work or inner work in a way, starting to see what is working for you and what is not, and starting to question what you want from life and what's most important. So you have the card here. Ooh. Don't let pride get in your way. The full moon in Leo, noting that the Strength card is ruled by Leo, the lion. Don't let pride get in your way. Yes, right. As I mentioned, this is a very stubborn group, a very, like, doggedly determined group. You don't like to be told by anyone else what's right or wrong. You like to make your own decisions. But I do see a group that also is probably very afraid of change. You're stuck in your ways. You like a good solid routine, or if you get your mind set on something, you won't let anything, like, stop that. But I do sense that the universe is coming in strong to make you start to change your values and to assess what's most important for you. And you also have the full moon in Aries. Wow, there you go. Noting that Mars is retrograde in Aries. A fiery climax approaches. Okay. Interesting. I really do sense it's a warning for you in a way, pile 2. And I don't mean to scare you or trigger you, but I just sense that, like, I am picking up on I'm picturing the tower moment in a way, that if you continue to try and persevere and push through, trying to control a certain outcome, if it's like a career move where you want something to take off and be successful, or there's something that you are determined to continue despite, like, knowing that it's not for your greater good anymore. And I really think with the Four of Coins and the Judgment card in reverse, this may be associated with maybe some, like, coping mechanisms or material attachments or something like that you need to let go of, or realize that maybe aren't best for you in a way. But I am sensing that if you continue to do it during retrograde, that I just see the tower moment coming in when things start to fall apart, and noting that the tower can be quite scary, but it's really for the greater good, so that we can, like, start afresh and actually build the life that we want, with the correct values and the correct belief systems in place, like following the right path in life. This is a group that I sense maybe has a certain job, potentially even, that isn't satisfying you, and there's something else that you've always wanted to do. And I sense that the universe is actually trying to get you to go down that path. Or at least there's something, a certain habit or pattern that you are continuing that isn't working for you. Noting there's a lot of fire in this reading, I'm just starting to see too. Both the full moon in Leo and the full moon in Aries, both being full moons too, of, like, strong, powerful energy. You've got the Six of Wands there in reverse, the Two of Wands, and also the Strength card reminds me of a fire sign too, because it's ruled by Leo. So lots of fire in this energy. This is a very passionate and driven group, but I do see a very stubborn and doggedly determined group too. So noting that Mars retrograde 2020, I just sense that you'll start to like be forced to change certain patterns that aren't working for you, or start to like do a bit more contemplation and reflection about where it is that you want your life to go, or what it is that you want to achieve with your life. Noting that you don't have to compare to anyone else, so you don't have to answer to anyone's expectations. You can do whatever you want. Let's get a closeout message for you, pile 2, from the universe has your back deck. Spirit, can we get a closeout message, please, for pile 2? Ooh. There's your card just here. Ah, lovely. I love this card. It's so simple. I love the moons there too. Full moons. Happiness is my birthright. Simple message, and I think that's something that's very key and important for you to start to realize. I was talking about earlier that happiness comes from within, pile 2. That you don't need external material assets or for other people to validate your existence, that we're all here just to live and love and to learn, really. So ride the waves and just do whatever it is that you want. You don't need to like answer to anyone else's expectations but your own. Beautiful. That's all I have for you, pile 2. I hope that resonated with you. If it did, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Remember that Mars goes direct in November 2013, and I hope this isn't too painful for you. I wish you all the best. Let's move on to pile number 3. Welcome, pile 3, with the standard Ryder Waite tarot deck. Let's find out what's in store for you for Mars retrograde 2020 in the sign of Aries from September to November. Noting that retrograde period is a period of like where the energy is turned inwards, internal reflection of personal growth. It's a period where we may not be as motivated to do the things that we want, or to continue doing the things that we were doing. So it's about also like overcoming those challenges by just persevering and seeing how strong we are, drawing upon that inner resolve and resilience. Spirit, can we please get some messages for pile 3 for Mars retrograde 2020, please? How will it affect them? Oh, that's too many cards. Ooh. Oh, wow. Ooh. Any further messages for pile 3, please, Spirit? Oh, wow. Major arcanas coming out everywhere. Okay. Well, there's a few cards for you, pile 3. So, first few cards that came out, you have the Emperor in reverse, which is really interesting because the Emperor is ruled by Aries, which is Mars energy all day, right? And it's in reverse. You have the Hierophant in reverse. You have Temperance. You have the King of Cups. You have the Page of Pentacles. The Nine of Wands. You have the Lovers in reverse. You have the Seven of Wands. And you also have the Four of Pentacles in reverse too. Interesting, that came out for pile 2. Wow. Okay. I do see this being very similar to pile 2 in a sense. Noting that the Emperor and the Hierophant in reverse. This is a group that I sense maybe struggles to with motivation in general in your day-to-day experiences, not necessarily during Mars retrograde. You may struggle to continue persevering with a certain challenge, or with it. This is a group that I sense probably hasn't got a very strong routine or hates routines, is what I'm picking up on. With the Seven of Wands here, like fighting off other challenges. I just see this being a group that really doesn't like commitment or routines. The Lovers card can also talk about a commitment, a strong commitment. And it may be in a relationship, but I really just sense it's about how you live your life in terms of not wanting to commit to certain routines or jobs, or to seeing people like week to week in certain engagements or something like that. I see this being a group that likes their freedom, most definitely, with the Emperor in reverse there. And with the Page of Pentacles also indicating to me that, like, you want to do whatever you want to do when you want to do it. That when you when you have an inspiration or a desire with the Emperor in reverse to do something, you can be quite impulsive and you just want to go off and do it. You don't like to be tied down to certain routines. Routines make you feel, you get quite, I sense you start to feel really tied down or unmotivated when you have to stick to a certain routine. But what I am seeing is that during Mars retrograde 2020 in the sign of Aries, you're going to start to like come into a place where you're becoming more in balance with your day-to-day activities, with Temperance there. And the King of Cups, both talking about emotional balance of things starting to flow, all aspects of your life coming in order. I sense that you're going to start to really like work on becoming more disciplined, is what I'm getting, pile 3. Becoming more disciplined in your approach to your career, your life in general, the way that you structure your day, in terms of like starting to commit to getting up at a certain time, doing things at the same time, maybe going to the gym at a certain time every day. I always see the Seven of, he looks like he's got like some sort of gym equipment and he's doing some like karate moves or something to me. So I see that like you're going to start to feel more motivated to start to get things in order in your life, things that like just weren't working out for you previously, where you weren't so disciplined before. I sense you somehow, the universe is like calling for you to start getting those things in order, is what I'm seeing. I also see that it's a time where maybe you'll start to like overcome personal habits that weren't serving you very well, with the Four of Pentacles in reverse there, which talks about falling under the King of Cups, holding 2 cups. Cups can sometimes remind me of, having a little bit to drink, having too much to drink. So there may be certain habits or addictions that aren't within your best interest, and probably also are preventing you from being quite routined and disciplined in your approach to life. This is a group that maybe really struggles day to day going to work, because there's other things that you may be dabbling in externally. You may not only just in terms of like your health and what you partake in and eat and consume, but I also see a group that might have some issues with depression or some mental health issues that they need to work on. But I am seeing during retrograde period that I just sense you're going to start to reflect upon how you're living, or what needs to change in your life, is what I'm getting. Starting to be really honest about the things that are working and what's not working, and maybe making an inventory about the things that you need to work on. And I guess starting to believe in yourself that you have the ability to change those things, getting the motivation within to start living the life that you've always wanted. And it just starts by, one day starting to work on things one by one, and investing time every day in those habits. And eventually they just become like second nature to us, really. That's what I'm getting for you, pile 3. I'm just seeing if I see anything else from those tarot cards. But I do see that the more work that you do on starting to be more disciplined in your approach to your day-to-day activities, or starting to overcome those personal habits that aren't working for you, the more you're going to start to like have more love and time for yourself in a way. The King of Cups really is all about self-love, of being emotionally balanced and having a lot of time for yourself, you know. And I always like to think that the universe rewards us by making things a little bit easier for us when we actually start to face our darkness and face our own demons. Sometimes they're nowhere near as scary as we think. It's just the thought of facing them that's bigger than actually the work involved. So I see that when you start to become more routine and disciplined and really starting to structure your life and your activities and your day-to-day environment, I do see a lot of rewards coming your way too, with the King of Cups there, with Temperance, and the Page of Pentacles indicating, like, you know, a gift from the universe in a way, which is really beautiful. Moving on from that, pile 3, let's get some further messages for you from the Moonology card. Spirit, can we get some further messages, please, for pile 3? How else will Mars retrograde affect them? Interesting that you have the Emperor there in reverse, which is like Mars retrograde energy, really. I do sense that this is a period that will affect you quite deeply, noting that Mars is one of the personal planets, so I sense that this is something that will have a really deep personal impact on your life, pile 3. I see you making a lot of changes to the way that you structure your day-to-day, starting to become more routine, definitely. Because I just sense that you've been exhausted, like you've been trying to persevere living a certain way that just wasn't in balance. You had too many things just all over the place that just weren't all in flow. They weren't working well together, and I see you starting to you know, find structure and to get some more order in the way that you live. Spirit, any further messages, please, for pile 3? Ooh, there's one card. Okay, there's 2 cards for you. So you have the super moon. Emotions are running high. Interesting. Oh, and you also have the south node. Don't let your past hold you back. Okay. So this card talks about not falling back on old habits, basically, like getting the motivation to persevere through and changing your life for the better. I do see a group that may get down on themselves quite easily when things aren't in flow and things don't sort of work out the way you want. I just see a very chaotic energy, and I don't mean that to be like as a read or to be nasty, pile 3. I just sense that like this is a group that probably really hates routines, that hates structure. But I see that you're being called to change those things with the South Node card there. Don't let the way that you've been living hold you back. It's time for you to address those things that I think you've always known you need to work on. I see you being very honest to yourself about the things that need to change in your life. And the Super Moon card here, emotions are running high. This is a really beautiful card. It's one of the most positive cards in the deck in terms of like feeling elated, feeling exuberant and happy within. It's a time of like of growth and positivity where you've made the changes and you're starting to like love the life that you're living now because things are more in flow and easier for you. So I sense that during this retrograde period, you will start to be honest with yourself about the things that you need to change and to start to be more disciplined in your approach to work and to all aspects of your life. Cutting out certain habits that aren't working for you, or at least starting to get them more into balance with the Four of Pentacles here falling under the King of Cups and Temperance, which both are all about like balance and moderation, right? I sense that you'll start to cut back on certain habits that aren't working. You don't necessarily have to cut them out, but I see you starting to be more honest about what you can consume or what you can do and what maybe what's too much and making sure that you don't go too far. And I really see that you're going to start to see the benefits for it with the emotions are running high card. Like, this is a really positive and beautiful card. There's a lot of growth here to be done, and I really see your life being a lot easier when you start to be a bit more ordered and disciplined, pile 3. But let's get a closeout message for you from the Universe Has Your Back deck. Spirit, can we get a closeout message, please, for pile 3? Noting it won't necessarily be easy also, pile 3. Remember, like, growth isn't easy at all. No pain, no gain, right? Like, that the motivation won't be there. I sense it'll be really hard to find the drive within to be able to do this, considering it's not the way that you live your life in general. That you do like to just be free and you don't like to be tied down with routines or engagements. So finding the motivation during the retrograde period to actually change these things certainly won't be easy, but I do see you doing it. I do see you overcoming this. There you go. This is the same card that came up for pile 2. Happiness is my birthright, which I think is just a beautiful sentiment. That you deserve to be happy, that you deserve to have a life that is easy, that is within flow, that doesn't seem to be, a challenge day in, day out, that isn't tiring and exhausting. I believe in you, pile 3. You have the strength to and the know-how to change your life for the better and to really start living the life you've always wanted. And it starts in Mercury retrograde in September 2020. That's all I have for you. I hope it resonated with you. If it did, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I wish you all the best, and let's move on to pile 4. Welcome, pile 4. With the Commonplace Tarot deck. I love this deck. The cards just shuffle so easily. Let's find out what's in store for you during Mars retrograde in the sign of Aries in September 2020. Noting that retrograde periods are a period when we, you can just see the cards just fly out for this deck. It might be an easy transition for you, pile 4. Retrograde is a period where the energy is turned inwards, where we start to utilize that energy to change things within ourselves. Mars is a personal planet, so I sense that it will affect you quite deeply and personally about your daily routines, about certain habits and things that you need to change. Ooh. Remembering that Mars retrograde is it tends to be about a lack of motivation, just feeling a bit lethargic and unmotivated essentially. But part of it is about us finding the strength and resolve within us to overcome the urge to just sit around and do nothing essentially, to persevere and to make the changes despite not really wanting to. Any further messages, please, for pile 4, please, Spirit. So you have 5 cards. You have Justice in reverse. You have the Moon in reverse. You have the 7 of Wands in reverse. You have the King of Cups, which came out for pile 3 too. And you have the 5 of Cups. Okay. What I am seeing is a group that maybe hasn't had the success with certain things the way that you want. Things weren't so fair, or things didn't turn out. There's something that hasn't panned out the way that you had planned. And I say that because you have the Justice card there in reverse. Justice being all about, what's just, what's right. Doing what feels right, of honor. And the 7 of Pentacles being reversed there, really indicating to me that you haven't actually received the rewards that you've wanted from some sort of endeavor or something that you've been working on. It may also be a relationship too. Justice rules the 7th house of partnerships. So it may be a relationship that just didn't work out the way you want, or I do see also with the moon here being in reverse, there may be some confusion surrounding whatever this is for you, whether it be a relationship or something that you've spent a lot of time and effort investing in, and it hasn't like produced the results that you've wanted. You don't quite know, or you feel a bit confused about why it didn't work out. And I do see a lot of disappointment here with the 5 of Cups, indicating that this is something that's actually really upset you. You're quite disappointed and upset that you didn't get the rewards from this venture or this relationship that you've put a lot of time and effort in. So I feel for you, Pole 4. I know what it's like to, put a lot of time and effort into a certain job or a relationship, and for it to not pan out. It's heartbreaking. It's hard to walk away. The 5 of Cups talks about not being able to see or to accept that there's still 2 good cups there, because she's lost 3 cups. She's disappointed that those things fell away, that she doesn't get to have them all. It's kind of like crying over spilled milk in a way, where you're just disappointed that it happened, or it didn't happen the way that you want anyway. But with the King of Cups here in the upright position, I am sensing that you're starting to accept that maybe you won't get the answers that you're seeking about this situation. I just see with Justice in reverse there and the Moon card in reverse that I really think that you have to accept that this just wasn't fair. It didn't work out the way you want. And maybe the lesson from this experience is if something doesn't work out, we need to just move on and try something else potentially. And I sense with the King of Cups in the upright position that you're starting to be okay with not knowing why you had to experience this disappointment with this venture. To be okay with with things just being quite shit, quite frankly, and not turning out the way that we want, is what I'm sensing. And in terms of how Mars retrograde is affecting you, I think this is a period where you're growing and starting to move on. You're finding the resolve and the strength within you to be able to walk away from something that just didn't work out. Which is really beautiful in a way, I think. There's a happy ending here for you, Pole 4. I sense that by the end of retrograde, when Mars turns direct in November 13th, that you'll start to feel at peace with this experience. Even though you may not have all the answers, or you may not actually have received the benefits from the efforts that you've put in with this relationship or with this venture, whatever it may be, you do have the strength. You are able to walk away, and you'll start to be okay with it. I'm going to see if we can get any more cards for you, Pile 4. Spirit, do we have any more cards for Pile 4? Any more messages, please? I like to think the universe doesn't send us lessons that we don't have the strength to be able to achieve. We don't necessarily learn them the first time. Retrogrades can also talk about when the planets are moving forward and then they go direct and move past the sun again, and then they go direct again, moving past the sun. They go past 3 times, first, second, third. We get the opportunity to learn a lesson 3 times. So the first time it can be really, really hard and taxing and trialing, causing us a lot of grief and agony. The second time it's well, that wasn't as bad. It wasn't fun, but I didn't mind it. And then the third time it's I barely even felt that. There was just a mild breeze. I didn't even notice it really. We're starting to integrate the lesson from that experience. So I see that by the end of retrograde period, I think you're going to just start to feel more at peace with this experience, that it won't bother you so much. And I do sense that you'll then start to have the resolve and the wisdom within you to know how to overcome similar challenges in the past. If something else doesn't work out, you'll just be all right, that's fine. I've experienced this before. I know that I'm okay. It's fine. Okay. So we got 2 more cards here for you. We get the Page of Cups, which is really lovely. And you also have the 7 of Cups in reverse. And what I'm getting from that, the Page of Cups really indicates to me a strong intuition, or like starting to see signs and synchronicities in the world. I'm sensing here with the Seven of Cups also talking about inner alignment. It sometimes talks about confusion or not knowing what decision to make, but it also has a meaning of like becoming more in line with our soul purpose and living the life that is within our destiny, in a sense of finding the right path. And I sense that like when you choose to really move on from this experience, you're going to start to see things in your external reality that are kind of directing you on the right path, that because you had to let go of something that didn't work for you, and even though you may not have known why it didn't pan out the way you wanted, whether it be a relationship or possibly like a business venture that you tried, you were an entrepreneur and you wanted to start your own business. It may even be a job or career that it just wasn't fulfilling and you weren't seeing the rewards that you were hoping for. Whatever it is for you, Pile 4, when you actually start to like be okay with not knowing why it didn't work out and moving on from this experience, I think you're going to start to see more signs and synchronicities that are guiding you towards the path that you're supposed to take. I sense that your intuition will start to grow and be more in point. Like the more in alignment we become by doing a lot of self-reflection and by accepting things about ourselves and being okay with who we are, despite having both the light and the dark. We're human. We're meant to have the light and the dark, right? That you start to see those things like reflected in your external experiences. And I do sense that you're going to see a lot more signs and synchronicities, some really magical, beautiful moments where the universe is just letting you know that like you're okay, that they've got your back basically, and that they're directing you on the path that you're supposed to be going down. So keep an eye out for like just little nuggets of magic in your external world, in your day-to-day experiences. Powerful. It's quite beautiful. Moving on from that, let's get some further messages for you from the Moonology cards about what's going to happen for you during Mars Retrograde 2020. Spirit, can we get some further messages, please, for Pile 4 for Mars Retrograde? Ooh, well, that one wanted to come out too. Okay, I'll take those 3 cards. So your first card is a Believe in the Impossible. Beautiful. You have the new moon in Scorpio, work through your fears. And you have the new moon in Cancer, you and your loved ones are safe. That's lovely. So what I am seeing for those 3 cards for you, Pile 4, I think you're currently working through your fears. During this period, you'll be forced to face them even more, forced to accept that whatever it is that you were trying to manifest in your reality, whether it be a relationship or a career or a job venture or a creative passion or something that just didn't pan out the way that you'd wanted, having to accept and face the fear that like that's not for you, and then also having to face the fear of being in limbo, being in that phase of like not knowing what you're supposed to do next. Noting that the 7 of Cups in reverse and the moon in reverse both talk about confusion, of this period of mystery where you're feeling a little bit lost and unsure about what your path is and what you're meant to do. There may be certain things that are surfacing from your deep subconscious during this period where you're forced to face them about who you are and what your purpose is in life, in a way, like facing certain belief patterns or systems that aren't for you or aren't for the greater good, in a sense. But I do see some magic in your future with the Believe in the Impossible, the blue moon. This is the most magical and like lucrative of all of the cards in the deck, really. It's about things happening in your life that you could never have imagined ever before. So walking away from these things and accepting that like you had to start afresh or let go of something that just wasn't for you, I think you're going to be, as I mentioned, going to be rewarded, not only in terms of signs and synchronicities and seeing those little beautiful moments of magic in your day-to-day experience, but in terms of where you're being directed and what the universe has in store for you, I think is going to be far beyond your wildest dreams and expectations. And it's something that I sense will be able to like provide for your needs for the rest of your life. With the new moon in Cancer here, you and your loved ones are safe. I really sense that this is something that you can make a career out of, or you're going to find, like, when one door closes, another door opens, right? The door that is opening for you is something that's going to provide for the needs for you and your loved ones for the rest of your life. And it's going to be something that is even more emotionally satisfying, with the King of Cups here and the Page of Cups. This is something that's going to be even more emotionally fulfilling than what you were doing previously. So for you, this period is about, like, accepting that something didn't work out for your best, for your greater good. It's similar to, like, the Tower card falling down, where you have to start afresh and start, like, the life based on the path that you were always supposed to go down. This was always supposed to happen. It was part of your destiny. And you have the strength here to overcome it. Also, I note that, side note here, but Scorpio rules. Scorpio is the sign that rules massive transformations to start with, which is what I sense that you're going through. You're starting to, like, find out what your soul purpose is, in a sense, pile 4, like what your path is that you're meant to go down in life. But it also rules, like, sex. So, this may be a period where you're starting to, like, lose interest in your libido and working out what your desires are in terms of what you want in the bedroom anyway. But moving on from that, let's get a closeout message for you from the universe. Has your backup deck. But this is really beautiful for you, pile 4. Even though it's going to be extremely painful, I sense the sting there with the Scorpio. The sting, like, is excruciating, right? It's not an easy process, but just know that when you get through this, near the end, a sense of Mercury retrograde, you're going to have a lot more clarity about your life purpose, of what it is that you want from life, about what path you're meant to go down, about what's going to be more emotionally satisfying for you. And I sense that you'll start to find out what it is that you want to do that can provide for you and your family for the rest of your life. Oh my God, okay. Happiness is my birthright. This card came out for 3 of the 4 piles. I'm not kidding, that's insane. Wow. You also have the moon too. So the moon has come out in quite a lot of your cards here. You've got the moon in, like, 5 cards that I can see. You've got the moon card, you've got the 3 Moonology cards, which is no surprising, but you've also got the Happiness is my birthright card with the moon. So the moon may be symbolic to you somehow. I sense that this is a group that, like, can really use or utilize the moon to manifest things, that you can use the moon phases to work on, to achieve or manifest the things that you want from your life. I sense that this is also a group that probably feels the energetic, like, movements of the moon to some degree. Like, when it's a full moon, you're feeling really excited and vibrant and anxious and have too much energy. And then when it's a new moon, you may feel a little lethargic or down or depleted. So just be mindful of how the moon impacts your energy, but also of how you can utilize the moon to start to manifest the things that you want. But it's a simple message for you. Happiness is my birthright. Just remember that despite the experiences that we have, pile 4, if things don't work out, note that it's best to just try and, like, let it go, and to accept that maybe that wasn't for us, that the universe knows better. And I know that's a very hard lesson to learn, because that's something that I'm learning myself. But I sense that you have faith in something bigger, so you'll get through it. That's all I have for you, pile 4. I hope that resonated with you. If it did, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I wish you a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.